Okay, in the last vlog post, we covered the reason that change is most likely not happening for you or your organization, despite the fact that you're clear that change has to happen. And you've created a clear plan on how to make that change happen. Today, I'm going to take you through the recipe for change. I use the word recipe very intentionally because it fits in with a metaphor that'll make it easy to remember. That metaphor was this. Change is most likely not happening because you're thinking of it as a prescription. Here's a diagnosis, here's the medicine, take the pill. And yet, the patient, either you or your organization, is not taking the medicine and you're stymied as to why. The better metaphor is to think about change like a meal that you have to bake or cook. And when you do so appropriately, people just gobble this thing up and the change happens more naturally. I'm going to take you through that recipe now and the cooking instructions, heavy on the metaphor, but more practical this time around. And so let's talk about this recipe for change. It is represented in an acronym. It is a classic change management, or at least a popular change management framework called ADKAR that stands for awareness. This is the awareness of what needs to change, desire to actually change, the knowledge about how to create the change, the ability to change, and lastly, reinforcement of the change. I'm going to go through this quickly. We're going to unpack it a little bit, and then I'm going to give you some actions to take. So awareness is not just awareness that change has to happen. Sure, that's fundamental, but also what are the changes that have to happen? Are they changes in systems or processes? Are they changes in individual practices and behaviors? Are they changes in mindset? Is it all three, which is quite common, but not always the case? So awareness that change has to happen and what specific change has to happen. Next, the desire to change. This is the why you want to change, why you want to go through all the effort in the first place. And if somebody doesn't desire to change, there's no change that's going to happen. You can't make somebody change that doesn't want to. Next, the knowledge about how to change. So this is the plan. If awareness is what has to change, the knowledge is how do you change? I need new mindsets or perspectives. These are the new ones that you want to embrace, or new practices or processes. Great. This is what you want to implement and how we're going to implement it. The ability to change. This happens through trial and error, through actually just implementing that knowledge. And lastly, reinforcement is all of the things that you will put into place to reinforce not only your progress towards the change as you're developing the ability, but also sustaining that change long term so that you don't backslide into the habits that you had previously. Now, if there's one ingredient that you absolutely must have and you almost cannot have enough of, but is most commonly overlooked, it is this one right here, desire. And this is likely what's happening in the prescription, right? In the prescription approach, you're saying, here's the problem, here's the medicine, just take it. Now, why is desire so crucial? Well, because of this. If you think of, let's think of any change, anything you want to do that's new, because that's what change is. It's a new behavior, a new way of doing something. Let's use a simple one, teaching a child to ride a bike. You don't just say, hey, look, you're old enough to ride a bike, and let's talk about how you're going to do that, which is the knowledge. You get on this thing, you balance, you pedal, you go fast enough, blah, 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 blah. They get on, and suddenly the first try, they have the ability to ride the bike. It happens on occasion, but not all the time. They fall, they get on the bike, they fall, they skin their knees. They want to give up, but they get on, they try again, they fall again, they get better, and they slowly develop the ability to ride the bike. Why? Because they have the desire, it's on fire, the desire to learn how to do this new thing and to change is literally lit up so that they just continue, they persist. This is what is most often overlooked in this entire recipe. If there's one ingredient that's missing, it's almost always desire. And we'll get into another video how you can generate that. There are 3 ways that are most common. So now if we want to talk about what you can do, let's take a look at that. Let's say you have a process, some sort of change that you need to see happen. What I want you to do is create a scorecard, -2 to 2. And it looks like this. 0 is, and before I get to the scores themselves, we're going to score each of these, all 5 of these pieces here. And what you're going to score them on is, for each of these, 1, is the team or are yourself aware of this piece, or has it been addressed at all? If you haven't addressed it, you're unlikely aware that you need to think through this piece of things, or etc. So has it been addressed at all? Have you addressed it? Going downward, let's say in the scale, a -1 is that the change, or the people that have to go through the change, are either doubtful that the change can happen, or cynical the change should happen, or they're doubtful of the knowledge, etc. Each of these pieces, they're doubtful or cynical about their ability. You get the point. -2 is they're outright resistant or reject what you're proposing here. On a +1, you have established this piece, but it is not on fire. Whatever that means. I'm not going to elaborate on that, but you know what that means. And lastly, this is on fire. So let's take a look at this. Let's say this is what has to change. This is change is necessary. Got to create change, and these are the things that need to change. Are the people you're talking to in your organization or yourself completely sold on this? You're like, yes, we must change this. That's on fire. On the other end, they're saying, no way in hell, not going to happen. That's this other side. Or are they, yeah, I guess I could see the change is necessary. I'm not so much sold on that, right? Or if you get to how we're going to change, do they say, yeah, that makes sense. You've established it. Okay, I can buy that. We're missing a D here. Or are they saying, I don't know about that, right? Or, okay, got it. So on each of these pieces, you want to go through and you want to score yourself on a scale of -2 to 2. And now, after you've created that score, what you're going to do next is you're going to work on each piece of this, getting that score up to a 2. And you do not move on to the next piece until you have this at a 2, until everybody sees that clearly this change has to happen. And in these areas, and they completely see, yep, absolutely. This is the change that's necessary. I'm fully on board with these 3 things must change. Then you move on to desire. And being on fire about change needs to happen doesn't equate to the desire to do all the effort, right? Let's be very, very clear on that. You can get to a 2 where people are like, yes, absolutely, change that. And then you get into, okay, so now it's going to be a long process, et cetera, et cetera. You have to explain, here is what we will get out of this change, right? And so you don't move to the next stage until you've got everything at a 2. And you work through it methodically, okay? So this is the recipe for change. It is, let me stop sharing here for a second. It's the recipe for change. These are the ingredients. There is an order in which you have to cook this. You go top to bottom. And if there's one ingredient that is most often overlooked, it is the desire. It's the desire to change. Okay. So things to do: one, score your change, -2 to 2. Two, work through ADKAR top to bottom, and don't move on to the next piece until you have that one at a 2. People are very clear, they're on fire about it. I hope this was helpful. If it was, like this, follow me on YouTube or subscribe, or follow me on LinkedIn or subscribe on YouTube, wherever you're seeing this. The reason why is because I'm going to share in the next post how you generate desire, that missing piece. We're going to dive into that and unpack that. That's the most important ingredient. And when I share that, I want you to get the notification that says, hey, Zito posted his next thing, and you can see that. Keep an eye out for that next video. Now, if you're an executive who's been struggling to see change happen in yourself or in your organization, how it operates, give me a shout. We can discuss if and how my coaching program would be a fit for you, and if you're a fit for the program. You can get at me at jz@xform.cc, direct message me on LinkedIn. Either one will work. For now, stay dedicated to being the most effective executive you can be, and stay truly well.